Prepare to journey through the 15 most mysterious trees on the planet, from species that resemble mythological creatures to organisms that move across the ground, engineer living tunnels, store ancestral memory, and even interact with invisible magnetic fields. Discover trees that bleed red, trees that heal, trees that guard the secrets of ancient civilizations, and trees that challenge our notions of time, movement, and plant intelligence. Each of these species reveals that nature is not just biology, it is mystery, history, science, and magic coexisting within the same root. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Now let's begin. Number 15, the baobab tree, Adansonia. The living reservoir of the desert, the baobab belonging to the genus Adansonia represents one of the most extraordinary examples of plant adaptation to arid climates. Found primarily in regions such as Madagascar, African savannas, and parts of northwestern Australia, it developed an exceptionally voluminous trunk that functions as a natural water storage system. Various botanical analyses indicate that a mature baobab can contain more than 120,000 liters of water within its structural biomass. This capacity is possible due to highly hydrated parenchymal tissues responsible for moisture retention and gradual distribution. The trunk, often bulb-shaped and fibrous in texture, is not merely aesthetic, it is a direct evolutionary response to low rainfall and extreme risk of environmental desiccation. Additionally, the bark has natural immunological properties, with high tannin and phenolic compound content capable of inhibiting microbial growth. Baobabs also display distinct phenology. They remain leafless for much of the year as a method to reduce evapotranspiration. During their leafing phase, they engage in intense photosynthesis within a shortened seasonal window. Ecologically, the baobab's pendulous flowers are pollinated by fruit bats and nocturnal insects, reflecting a tight mutualistic relationship between local flora and fauna. The structure of the flowers, with long stamens and exposed receptive surfaces, facilitates pollen transfer by large nocturnal visitors. The species' longevity has been studied dendrochronologically. Many specimens exceed 1,000 years of age, and some may reach more than 2,000. The baobab is also the subject of anthropological research. African populations use its fruits, rich in vitamin C and soluble fiber, as food, and the pulp has proven prebiotic properties. The porous wood, unsuitable for construction, is useful for manufacturing ropes and natural insulators. Symbolically, African cultures ascribe to the baobab the role of ancestral guardian, but scientifically it is, above all, a living laboratory of water resilience mechanisms and adaptive plant longevity. Number 14, the Norfolk Island pine, Araucaria heterophylla. The botanical reliquary of Gondwana. The Norfolk Island pine is a living example of flora descending from the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, which once connected landmasses that are now dispersed. Native to Norfolk Island in the South Pacific, this species is not merely an ornamental tree recognizable for its symmetrical conical architecture. It is an evolutionary record preserving genetic and morphological traits from plant lineages that preceded the diversification of angiosperms. The Araucariaceae family reproduces primarily through cones and lacks true flowers, indicating its pre-floral ancestry. Botanically, Araucaria heterophylla exhibits regular whorled branching and flat needle-like leaves, structures efficient at minimizing water consumption in coastal environments with intense atmospheric salinity. The species developed thick cuticles and sunken stomata, physiological mechanisms preventing excessive water loss through transpiration. Its resistance to wind is also remarkable. The geometric arrangement of branches allows aerodynamic dissipation of ocean gusts. Comparative genomic studies with modern conifers reveal that the Araucaria maintains conserved sequences linked to primitive lignin biosynthesis. This explains the rigidity and durability of the trunk, historically used in shipbuilding and the crafting of masts and keels. The wood also contains a reduced resin index, improving mechanical properties for specific applications. Ecologically, the Norfolk Island pine serves as a refuge for marine and arboreal bird species that nest on its densely spaced platforms. Its canopy functions as a microhabitat for insects forming local food webs. The tree has been translocated around the world as an ornamental species, but it displays low invasiveness and does not threaten local ecosystems. As a historical witness of Gondwana, it contributes to research in phylogeography and paleobotany, providing clues for reconstructing prehistoric evolutionary routes. Number 13, the European yew, Taxus baccata, The tree of molecular immortality. The European yew is one of the most studied tree species in the field of plant biochemistry due to its production of taxanes, deterpenic compounds used in anti-tumor pharmacology. Paclitaxel, originally derived from the Pacific yew and later synthesized from Taxus baccata, became the basis of effective chemotherapy treatments for various human cancers. This makes the tree not merely a landscaping element in Europe, but a source of bioactive molecules of global medical relevance. Botanically, the yew presents perennial leaves arranged helically, with protected stomata allowing continuous photosynthetic activity in shaded environments. Its tolerance to low light levels and calcareous soils gives it ecological flexibility. It grows slowly and can surpass 2,000 years of age, with some specimens registered as cultural landmarks in medieval cemeteries and monastic grounds. The toxicity of the yew, derived from alkaloids and cyanogenic glycosides present mainly in its leaves and seeds, functions as a chemical defense against herbivory. However, the fleshy red aril surrounding the seed is non-toxic and serves as an attractant for birds. An evolutionary seed dispersal strategy through endozookery, the interaction between selective toxicity and fruit-based attractiveness, represents a classic case of coevolution between plants and avian dispersers. Yew wood has high density and exceptional elasticity, which historically made it valuable in the production of medieval European longbows. This characteristic results from the microstructure of its growth rings, with variable proportions between early wood and late wood, generating flexibility without structural rupture. At a molecular level, the genes regulating taxane biosynthesis continue to be the target of functional sequencing. Thus, the tree transcends its mythological and funerary symbolism and assumes a central role in contemporary pharmaceutical research. Number 12. The sacred fig. Ficus religiosa. Ficus religiosa is one of the most emblematic species of South Asia, particularly associated with the Indian subcontinent, where it performs complex ecological and physiological functions. Biologically, it belongs to the genus Ficus, known for extremely specific symbiotic relationships with pollinating wasps of the genus Blastophaga. This mutualistic dependence ensures efficient reproduction and highly controlled genetic flow. The sacred fig also develops adventitious roots that descend from upper branches toward the soil, forming structural supports that expand canopy distribution and allow horizontal growth. The quality of its wood is secondary to its ecological role. Fig trees create moisture islands in urban and rural environments, reducing local temperature and increasing carbon dioxide retention. Studies quantify its gas exchange efficiency and indicate a high capacity for CO2 sequestration per leaf surface. The leaves exhibit moderate waxy cuticles and well-distributed stomata regulating transpiration and light absorption. Seed dispersal occurs extensively via frugivorous birds, including pigeons, parrots, and starlings, which consume the figs and excrete intact seeds, allowing colonization of varied environments, including unusual surfaces such as temple walls and rocks. Its contemporary scientific relevance extends to research on flavonoid and phenolic compounds present in the plant, with medicinal potential as antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. Thus, while Ficus religiosa carries a millennia-long cultural legacy, it is above all a robust example of functional arboreal physiology, beneficial urban ecology, and coevolution with highly specialized pollinators. Number 11. The oak tree. Quercus spp. The oak, Quercus spp, is a paradigmatic example of structural resilience and ecological persistence in temperate zones of the northern hemisphere. It possesses a deep root system that provides exceptional anchorage and efficient absorption of nutrients and water in heterogeneous soils. Its wood is composed of extremely compact fibers and a high linen content, granting superior mechanical resistance. Historically and industrially indispensable in carpentry and shipbuilding, Quercus also forms crucial symbiotic associations with mycorrhizal fungi that expand root absorption surface area and contribute to nutrient cycling in the soil. Its fruit, the acorn, constitutes a primary food source for various mammal species, including deer and rodents, influencing their population dynamics. Anatomically, the leaves exhibit morphological variations between deciduous and evergreen species, with lobed margins and well-defined veins suited for efficient light capture and thermal regulation. Acorns contain tannins that function as anti-nutritional defenses against excessive predation, while their biennial maturation in some species promotes specific ecological rhythms. The oak is also the subject of dendrochronological studies. Its growth rings record past climatic patterns and are used as natural archives of historical atmospheric variations and precipitation levels. Thus, the oak simultaneously operates as an ecological engineer, climatic archive, and structural species in temperate ecosystems. Number 10. The maritime pine, Pinus pinaster. The maritime pine, Pinus pinaster, is one of the conifers with the greatest adaptability to abiotic stress, particularly nutrient-poor environments and recurrent risk of forest fires. Its long needles reduce direct solar exposure surface and minimize evapotranspiration, while resins produced in internal channels function as antibacterial and antifungal barriers. These resins also play a crucial role in sealing wounds in the bark. The root system is aggressive and deep, enabling colonization of sandy soils and stabilization of erosion-prone areas. Regarding photosynthetic physiology, the species maintains efficiency even under intense sunlight and irregular water availability. The thick, segmented bark acts as thermal insulation during fires, a characteristic that favors survival and preserves population viability after natural disturbances. Reproductively, Pinus pinaster depends on anemophilous pollination, with large quantities of pollen disseminated by wind. The female cones protect the ovulas during development and later produce winged seeds that disperse widely, facilitating colonization of new territories. Tolerance to acidic and saline soils expands its habitat range. Recent research investigates volatile compounds emitted by its needles, such as monoterpenes, which influence local atmospheric chemistry and may act as natural repellents against phytophagous insects. Industrially, the extraction of pitch and turpentine from the maritime pine sustained economic chains associated with solvents and adhesives. Thus, this tree is simultaneously a soil stabilizer, bioindustrial resource, and exemplar of adaptive physiology in conifers. Number 9. Sequoia. The giant sequoia, Sequoia dendron giganteum, is one of the most massive organisms to have ever existed in the history of the planet. While other trees may surpass it in height, virtually none match the biomass volume present in the monumental trunks of these prehistoric conifers. The trunk structure is composed of highly lignified, fire-resistant tissue, featuring bark that can exceed half a meter in thickness. This bark is impregnated with phenolic compounds that inhibit combustion and act as a thermal shield during natural wildfires, which are common in California ecosystems. The longevity of sequoias surpasses 3,000 years. This immense time span places individuals of the species as witnesses to significant geoclimatic events, including changes in precipitation patterns and periods of intense regional volcanic activity. Their growth rings provide a detailed dendrochronological record that allows scientists to reconstruct both climate and atmospheric composition across centuries. Their capacity for survival is also linked to fire-dependent seed recruitment. The heat from forest fires opens the seed cones, enabling regeneration of new generations. Germination in post-fire soil offers ecological advantages, reduced competition, greater availability of mineral nutrients mobilized by ash, and lower incidence of pathogenic fungi. Another key factor is the shallow yet extensive root system. Instead of penetrating deeply, the roots spread laterally, connecting with roots of other sequoias and forming mutualistic rhizospheric networks. Symbiotic mycorrhizae expand mineral absorption capacity, particularly for phosphorus and nitrogen. This interconnected system results in collective resilience. Sequoias play a critical role in atmospheric carbon capture. Their colossal biomass stores carbon on a massive scale, mitigating emissions and contributing to climate stabilization. Comparative ecological studies demonstrate that sequoia forests possess carbon sequestration potential several times greater than that of typical temperate forests. From a genetic standpoint, sequoias exhibit highly efficient cellular repair mechanisms, reducing the incidence of somatic mutations over centuries. This helps explain their exceptional longevity. The presence of active telomerase in certain vascular cambium cells is one hypothesis for the maintenance of replicative integrity over millennia. Thus, the sequoia is not merely an enormous tree, it is an organism that operates on a temporal scale, transcending human historical duration, functioning as both ecological stabilizer and biological archive of entire eras. Number 8. Strangler fig. The Strangler fig, genus Ficus, especially Ficus aurea and Ficus bengalensis, displays a reproductive and competitive model unique among tropical plants. Its development typically begins as an epiphyte when birds deposit seeds in the crowns of other trees. The seeds germinate and produce aerial roots that descend and envelop the host's trunk. Over time, these roots fuse and form a radial cylinder that compresses the host's vascular tissue, restricting water and nutrient flow. Gradually, the original tree dies off, leaving the fig as the dominant structure. This process of structural replacement is a fascinating example of indirect competition. The fig uses the host's architecture to access sunlight before developing its own functional trunk. In evolutionary ecology, this is described as structural parasitism, followed by physiological autonomy. Beyond this peculiar growth method, fig trees exhibit obligatory mutualism with fig wasps, which perform pollination. The fig, technically an inverted inflorescence called a syconium, houses hundreds of flowers invisible from the outside. The wasps lay eggs inside the syconium. Larvae develop by feeding on floral tissue. Adults emerge carrying pollen. This coevolutionary relationship is so specific that each ficus species tends to possess one or a small number of corresponding wasp species. The aerial roots of the fig also play a crucial role in mechanical stabilization. In cases like Ficus bengalensis, the roots form true column-like structures, creating horizontal tree forests that cover hundreds of square meters. These networks function as redundant support systems. Ecologically, Strangler figs are biodiversity hubs. Their fruits are available during multiple parts of the year, serving as vital food for primates, frugivorous birds, and bats. Additionally, cavities in their trunks create microhabitats used by reptiles, insects, amphibians, and arboreal mammals. The physiological properties of fig trees include latex-rich and defensive compounds such as coumarins and tannins, which reduce herbivory. From the perspective of molecular botany, genes linked to the development of adventitious roots are highly expressed, enabling extraordinary root plasticity. Unlike plants fixed to a single ecological strategy, the Strangler fig employs multiple tactics simultaneously: epiphytism, tendril networks, host substitution, obligatory mutualism, and dominance for sunlight. The result is extreme adaptive efficiency. Number 7. Jatobá. The jatobá, Hymenaea corboreal, native to the tropical forests of the Americas, is known both for its ecological properties and its ethnobotanical impact. Its robust trunk and broad canopy provide essential shade for maintaining humid microclimates. Its fruits produce a flowery pulp rich in sugars and aromatic volatile compounds, with notable presence of bioactive terpenoids. The resin produced by the jatobá, commonly known as copal, has chemical characteristics similar to fossil amber. Geochemical studies reveal that resins from Hymenaea species were responsible for forming amber deposits in Central America during the Miocene. This resin is known for its high content of diterpenes, which provide antifungal and antioxidant properties. Physiologically, the bark contains a high volume of lignocellulosic fibers and phenolic compounds that act in defense against boring insects. The wood's durability is due to the organization of xylem vessels and the high percentage of thick-walled fibers. This results in a density greater than 0.9 GCM3, making it suitable for construction and high-traffic flooring. Ecologically, the jatobá plays a fundamental role in nutrient cycling. Its leaves decompose comparatively slowly due to the high lignin content, releasing nutrients gradually and sustaining decomposer chains, including fungi and detritivorous invertebrates. Its roots exhibit dense mycorrhizal associations, particularly with Basidium acet fungi that increase mineral absorption and resistance to moisture variation. This symbiosis allows the jatobá to thrive both in well-drained soils and compact clay soils. Biochemically, extracts from bark and seeds contain compounds with antifungal and antibacterial activity used traditionally in phytomedicine. Modern pharmacognostic research explores the potential of these substances in clinical formulations. The flowering of the jatobá generally occurs during dry periods, allowing greater pollination efficiency by insects, especially native bees. Fruits ripen at the onset of the rains, maximizing dispersal by frugivorous mammals and ungulates. Its scientific relevance therefore transcends botany. The jatobá connects paleobotany, amber, structural biology, soil ecology, plant pharmacology, and materials engineering, all within a single organism. Number 6. Cedar. The cedar, Cedrela odorata, and Cedrus libani as historical reference has enormous ecological, anatomical, and civilizational relevance. Structurally, cedar wood exhibits high dimensional stability, low volumetric shrinkage, and natural resistance to fungi and insects. This is due to the high concentration of cedrol and other sesquiterpenes in the heartwood, compounds that function as biological repellents and natural antibacterial inhibitors. This chemical composition allowed its structural longevity in human constructions, such as ships, temples, and ritual objects that lasted for centuries. Physiologically, cedar possesses leaves or needles, depending on species, adapted to regimes of low humidity and marked thermal variation. The thick leaf cuticle reduces water loss, and the structure of the vascular bundles promotes efficient conduction even under hydric deficit. Additionally, deep taproots in tropical species and lateralized root systems in high-altitude species ensure water absorption from multiple soil layers. Ecologically, cedar participates in sustaining trophic webs. Its flowers produce nectar for specialized pollinators, while its winged seeds are dispersed by wind, broadening spatial distribution. The decomposition of leaves and bark contributes to gradual enrichment of organic matter in soil, favoring symbiotic microorganisms and positively influencing nutrient cycling. Cedar also plays a central role in paleoclimatology and dendrochronology. Many growth rings show clear alternation between early wood and late wood, enabling highly accurate reconstructions of ancient climate patterns. This information is valuable for climate modeling, especially for identifying drought periods and variations in rainfall regime. Culturally, the cedar of Lebanon was a symbol of royalty and longevity in the Middle East, but scientifically, its greater value lies in its solid anatomy, natural biochemical defense, and cellular longevity. The presence of aromatic volatile compounds also reduces the incidence of wood-boring insects, revealing refined chemical self-preservation strategies. Number 5. Pau Brazil. The Pau Brazil, Pau Brasilia echinata, native to Brazil's Atlantic forest, is an iconic species both for its cultural history and for its unique chemical and structural properties. Pau Brazil wood is extremely dense, with values exceeding 1.3 G cen threon, meaning it sinks in water, a rare characteristic among tropical trees. This occurs due to the high presence of thick-walled lignified fibers and minimal intercellular space, resulting in exceptional rigidity and structural stability. Its most remarkable trait is the production of the pigment brazilin, a red phenol that oxidizes into brazilin, a substance historically used for fabric dyeing and, in modern science, for pH assays and molecular biochemistry. Deposition of this phenol in internal vessels functions as chemical defense against fungi and also confers antioxidant properties. Physiologically, Pau Brazil adapts to the irregular hydric regime of the Atlantic forests through a deep and highly branched root system that facilitates water absorption in variable soils, including lateritic soils. The spiny bark of juvenile specimens is an efficient anti-herbivory mechanism, reducing attack by plant predators during vulnerable growth stages. Ecologically, Pau Brazil flowers attract native pollinators, especially solitary and eusocial bees. Synchronizing its flowering with cycles of humidity and solar radiation increases reproductive efficiency. Its seeds are primarily wind dispersed and secondarily animal dispersed, ensuring regional propagation. Genetically, population genomic studies show significant erosion of genetic diversity due to historical overexploitation. Current conservation efforts seek to restore genetic banks and ecological corridors for evolutionary recovery of the species. Thus, Pau Brazil is not merely a national symbol. It is a model for studying anthropogenic impacts and biological restoration strategies. Number 4. Oak. The oak, Quercus robur, and other species of the Quercus genus, plays a crucial role in temperate ecosystems. Its wood is rich in tannins, phenolic compounds that function as chemical defenses against bacteria and fungi, prolonging the durability of the timber. This property has been exploited for centuries in the aging of wines and spirits in oak barrels. Tannins interact chemically with alcohols, altering the organoleptic profile of the liquids and acting as molecular catalysts of transformation. Anatomically, the oak features a distinctive structure of woody vessels with semi-ring porosity. This alternating distribution of vessels of varying calibers provides both mechanical strength and flexibility. The presence of prominent medullary rays enables lateral transmission of nutrients, an important factor for the homogeneous distribution of water and sugars during periods of growth. Ecologically, oaks host hundreds of specialized insect species that depend on their leaves, bark, and flowers to complete their life cycles. This creates an intricate ecological network that influences intermediate predators, insectivorous birds, and arboreal mammals. Furthermore, acorns are a fundamental food source for rodents and deer, contributing to the population dynamics of these herbivores. Oak also plays a significant role in soil formation, as its lignin-rich leaf litter decomposes slowly, gradually altering the substrate's microbial composition and promoting the formation of structured humus. This process affects carbon storage in the soil and changes its water retention capacity. At the molecular level, studies reveal elevated expression of genes involved in the biosynthesis of phenolic compounds, especially during pathogenic attacks. This induced adaptive response has parallels with systemic immunological mechanisms observed in other evolutionarily distant plants, suggesting evolutionary convergence in chemical defense strategies. Number 3. Dragon's Blood Tree. The dragon's blood tree, Dracana cinnabari, native to the island of Socotra, is one of the most surreal and almost mythical plants on the planet, appearing more like a petrified being than a living organism. Since antiquity, Arab merchants and Phoenician sailors collected its crimson resin, dragon's blood, viewed as a sacred substance able to heal wounds, fortify courage, enchant lovers, and resurrect virility. Civilizations saw it as a bearer of invisible forces, and even today, scientists remain astonished at its unique biological adaptations. Its umbrella-shaped crown is not a mere aesthetic oddity. It optimizes the capture of atmospheric moisture, functioning as a natural condensation system to extract every drop of mist in its arid habitat. In places where rainfall is scarce and soil is as dry as ancient stone, the dragon's blood tree developed a kind of water memory that allows it to retain moisture for long periods, sustaining internal tissues with a plant resilience that borders on the supernatural. Its red resin is not only visually striking, its chemical composition includes rare tannins and antimicrobial compounds that made it an ingredient in alchemical potions, ritual incense, and sacred dye pigments. In the Roman Empire, gladiators would apply this crimson extract to their skin and onto their weapons as a symbol of ferocity. Medieval European monks used it to inscribe mystical texts and to seal amulets with a varnish believed to repel malevolent forces. Even today, local communities use it to treat burns, irritations, inflammations, and also as a traditional pigment marking tribal rites of passage. The genetic structure of this tree reveals a lineage of isolated adaptation, and its botanical strangeness suggests it is a survivor of prehistoric ecosystems. It grows slowly, expanding branches that bifurcate geometrically as if obeying a secret mathematical symmetry. Each branch seems engineered to maximize micro-moisture absorption, creating a crown so dense and rounded that sunlight barely penetrates its canopy. Beneath its inner shade, a micro-ecosystem is born. Specialized insects, small reptiles, and miniature plant colonies live protected there, in a refuge where evaporation is lower and life can gather. In Yemeni folklore, it is said that the dragon's blood tree emerged from blood spilled in a mythical battle between a dragon and a giant elephant. The earth absorbed the red essence, and centuries later transformed it into seeds infused with primordial energy. This narrative echoes a curious fact. When the tree is wounded, it truly seems to bleed, as resin flows thick and intensely, as if the trunk were living flesh. This striking trait fuels the mystical imagination that treats the dragon's blood tree as a hybrid entity, part plant, part spirit of the desert. In a world where forests are standardized and species are industrially reinterpreted, the dragon's blood tree remains indomitable. There is no large-scale artificial plantation capable of consistently reproducing it. Researchers attempt to germinate its seeds under controlled conditions, but the seedlings often fail to thrive, as if something inherent to Socotra were missing. Perhaps the precise mineral signature of the soil, perhaps an endemic mycorrhiza, perhaps an imperceptible vibrational frequency. Its relationship with its environment is symbiotic and complex, and full development only seems to occur when there is interaction with the island's isolated ecosystem, preserved for millions of years. The tree is not merely a product of its habitat, it is its habitat. The modern threat is silent: overgrazing, gradual urbanization, deforestation and climate change alter atmospheric moisture patterns, directly affecting the tree's ability to reproduce. Scientists warn that young individuals of the species are exceedingly rare, and the imbalance of age distribution indicates that if no intervention occurs in the future, only remaining adult specimens will exist, slowly fading without replacement. Conservation programs attempt to restrict goat and livestock access to sprouting zones, but preservation ultimately depends on local culture understanding the ancestral and future value of this tree. Some say the dragon's blood tree is not just a living organism, but a natural archive, a repository of biological knowledge on extreme adaptation, alternative organic chemistry, superior moisture retention, and cellular resistance under thermal stress. Analyzing its resin is like opening a book on evolutionary plant chemistry. Studying its growth patterns resembles deciphering fractals etched by the desert. Contemplating its presence feels like perceiving the ancient breath of earth passing through the living rings of a trunk. In the end, the dragon's blood tree represents more than botany. It represents the persistence of life under climatic hostility, the poetry of survival, the union of myth and biology, and the reminder that the world still harbors mysteries that defy scientific arrogance. The tree does not merely exist, it asserts something. It declares that nature is capable of inventing forms of life so extraordinary that they surpass human common sense. And within such forms lies something valuable and urgent, the understanding that protecting the dragon's blood tree is not merely protecting a species, but safeguarding a primordial memory of Earth. Number 2, the Forgotten Tunnel Tree. The forgotten tunnel tree, found in subtropical forests of Indonesia and in isolated regions of the Pacific, is a species that not only grows, it occupies space architecturally, creating natural tunnels that transform the forest into a living cathedral. Its popular name derives from the way its roots and branches intertwine above and below to form organic passages, natural corridors through which animals and even humans can walk. Anyone passing through this vegetal tunnel feels as though they are entering a different realm, where sound is muffled and light filters from above in faint green beams. The experience is not merely biological, it is sensory, almost spiritual. This tree is not solitary and does not grow in isolation. It exists as a network. More than individuals, they are cooperative collectives. A forgotten tunnel tree generally represents, in truth, dozens of organisms interconnected underground by a vast root network that exchanges nutrients, chemical messages, and electrical signals. The older trees act as nuclei, mother trees, as ecological anthropologists call them, capable of sending carbohydrates, protective tannins, and electrical impulses to younger trees that still cannot fully support themselves. The tunnels they create are not mere accidents. The curvature of the trunks, the calculated bifurcation of branches, and the persistence of exposed roots suggest a form of intentional construction. It is as if the species developed over millennia a functional design that channels the circulation of beings through the understory, establishing organic routes of animal transit. Local anthropologists claim that ancestral peoples followed these tunnels as sacred pathways, believing they led not only to other parts of the forest, but to other states of consciousness. This relationship between form and function extends to the tree's role in the regional microclimate. The tunnels created by its biomass produce zones of low evaporation, maintaining moisture near the soil. This allows mosses, orchids, bioluminescent fungi, and a variety of specialized insects to survive under conditions that would not exist without this living architecture. On certain nights, when fluorescent fungal colonies ignite along the inner edges of these tunnels, the natural trail appears to glow, creating a mystical atmosphere that natural historians describe as the forest's dawn. Culturally, the forgotten tunnel tree is wrapped in layers of folklore. Among Melanesian and Indonesian communities, it is said that entering one of these tunnels without asking permission from the spirit of the forest may cause the traveler to lose their way in time. There are reports of hunters who entered these corridors and emerged hours later, convinced that only minutes had passed. This may be a psychological effect of the sensory environment, but it may also reflect an altered perception of space in a region where the forest creates unusual acoustics and peculiar light fields. Science has yet to measure the neurological impact of this. Number 1. The walking tree. The walking tree, found primarily in the Amazon, Central America, and parts of the Orinoco Basin, is one of the most provocative and debated botanical entities of modern science. It is popularly said to walk, not freely like an animal, but by slowly shifting through the forest over the course of decades. It does this by extending and retracting its roots in specific directions, literally moving across the terrain in search of better light, more stable soil, or more favorable water resources. This movement is so slow that it can only be proven through long-term observation or historical photographic comparison. On average, a tree may move between 20 and 80 centimeters per year, a subtle but real pace. Its anatomy explains its migratory ability. Instead of a deep central root, this species develops a radial structure similar to vegetal legs that lift and brace at various points. When one root encounters poor soil or excess shade, it dies and dries. Other roots grow on the opposite side to push the tree in another direction. This process is similar to the way an organism seeks constant balance. The tree appears to be an entity that continually optimizes itself. Historically, indigenous peoples believed these trees possessed a traveling spirit. There were stories of trees that moved silently through the darkness of the forest to follow river paths, animal trails, or invisible spiritual lines. Some tribes avoided sleeping near them, believing disturbed dreams might occur when close to a living being that moves while you sleep. Other cultures regarded them as guardians that follow Earth's energetic routes, functioning as vegetal antennas that capture telluric flow. Scientists initially mocked the idea of a migratory tree, dismissing it as folklore, but later studies, combining root analysis, historical geographic positioning, and repeated field measurements confirmed real migration. This does not imply conscious will, but it does reveal adaptive biomechanical intention, something extraordinary for large plant species. This behavior may represent a specialized evolutionary stage, refined over millions of years in dense canopy forests, where light is a daily contest. This movement also creates ecological impact. As the walking tree shifts, it leaves behind altered shadow zones, disturbed soil, dead roots, and deposited nutrients. These points become microenvironments that nourish new organisms. As a walker, it is also a sower of diversity. Its movement also carves shallow channels into the soil, in pathways that funnel rainwater and create humid corridors where small plants can emerge. Thus, it not only occupies the environment, it modifies it. Physiologically, the tree displays flexible internal wood and elastic tissues that support lateral pressure when the body leans. The mechanism is similar to that of a tower, shifting its support point slowly. Sap redistributes according to the angle of inclination, and areas receiving more photosynthesis accelerate growth. It is as though the tree has embedded photobiological sensors. It detects light angles, compares intensities, and gradually adjusts its growth direction. The resulting phenotype is fascinating. Trunks that lean dramatically, roots like crutches, an almost anthropomorphic appearance. At night, when the breeze sets the leaf tissues trembling, the sound produced resembles a long whisper, a kind of vegetal vocalization. And there are compelling accounts from people who have spent decades in the forest who swear they can sense the presence of these trees, as though they emanate a slow but perceptible vibration. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Also, check out other interesting videos appearing right now on your screen, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time.